All right, good morning. It is coffee with Lombardi on a foggy morning in San Francisco. You got to love these mornings where it's going to burn off here within the next couple hours, but you could see out the window. Yesterday, you had the nice view. Today, not much of one, but it makes it a little cozier, makes the coffee taste a little bit better, and it gives us a chance to sit inside and talk about this. I wrote this over the course of the week. It took a lot of work, but it's out in time for 49ers Eagles, a massive feature on Kyle Shanahan. The title up on The Athletic is right here. Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job yet has the 49ers on the precipice of another Super Bowl. 58 wins for Kyle Shanahan in his 49ers career. I first started covering the team the same year that he came aboard in 2008, 2017. 2017 and 18 were both rough seasons for the 49ers. In 19, they went to the Super Bowl. They didn't win. 20 was rough again, but 21 and 22 now have featured trips to the NFC Championship game. And now 58 wins after his first one as head coach for the 49ers in 2017. Kyle Shanahan is on the verge of returning to the big dance. Now, we have to put this into historical context, and that's what I framed the article around. The 49ers in 2017 bottomed out in Philadelphia. And that's actually something that I talk about in this piece. Let's find the link to that game. The 49ers and the Eagles were playing in Philly in 2017. And look at the headline of the piece. Those of you who were bored watching this team before they got good probably remember this, or if you're Kyle Shanahan, you might have tried to forget it. The 49ers reach a new level of decimation, falling to the worst start in franchise history. I was there in Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field. I actually bought a peacoat on that trip to Philly that I still have, that I might bring back to Philly when I fly there tomorrow, just for time's sake. But anyway, the 49ers lost the game 33-8. The Eagles would go on to win the Super Bowl. The 49ers were 0-8 after that game. It had never been worse for the 49ers in franchise history. A once proud franchise was 0-8 to begin the season. And I still remember going into the post-game press conference room, and that was after loss after loss after loss. And Kyle Shanahan was just, he wasn't angry. It was just that the parade of losses had beaten everybody around the team down. Because let's be honest, even when you're covering a team, you're dealing with the emotions of these coaches and players. And if you're just losing every single week, it's just quiet in the locker room. Nobody really, there's no good vibe. There's no good mojo. And you could feel that in this post-game press conference in Philadelphia from Kyle Shanahan. You could feel that it was just going through the motions again, over and over. And there was still half of a season to go. It was a 16-game season at the time. And the loss was particularly brutal for the 49ers. They had a terrible roster. When Shanahan first inherited the 49ers roster, he told Jed York that this was quite literally the worst roster he had ever seen at the NFL level during his job interview. It's that honesty that got Kyle Shanahan the job. But, I mean, it was going to take a couple years to turn this around. That's something that Kyle Shanahan was fully aware of, but it's still a lot easier said than done. You could say that you're ready to take on a big rebuilding project, but then you're in the rain in Philadelphia, 8 weeks into the season without a win. The 49ers had come off a bunch of close losses, but now they're getting blown out. Your left tackle, Joe Staley, gets hit on the blind side by Fletcher Cox on a pick six interception return. He's bleeding out of his eye because he fractured his orbital bone. So quite literally, your left tackle suffered a broken eye socket. Your quarterback gets hit 16 times. It's unheard of at the NFL level. Maybe if for an overmatched high school team does your quarterback get hit 16 times. It shouldn't happen at this level of football. That was C.J. Beathard back then. The 49ers were seconds away from having to play a 250-pound tight end at right tackle. That's how bad this got. They had lost all their offensive linemen. They're playing guards at tackle. A guard, I believe it was Brandon Fusco, was down on the field hurt. So Garrett Selleck who was actually playing against his brother at the time. Garrett Selleck's brother was playing for the Eagles in that game. The only time in the history of their careers that they would get to face off against each other. That was a fun situation. Here it is. I have a picture of that. Brent and Garrett Selleck, the two brothers meeting on the field. That was about the only positive note coming out of that game, besides the fact that the Eagles had plenty of positives coming out of that game. They'd go on to win the Super Bowl. But anyway, those are the two guys. Garrett Selleck on the right here. I have the picture of him. This guy right here in the white was seconds away from having to play right tackle for the 49ers. Now, muscular dude. I mean, obviously, he's built like an NFL tight end, but playing tackle at the NFL level typically requires at least 300 pounds, and he's nowhere near that. So it didn't happen, but Garrett Selleck was like, oh shit, this is about to this is about to get really ugly. And Kyle Shanahan thought the same thing on the sideline. Then Fusco popped up and the 49ers were okay. But anyway, this was such a low point that even today, the 49ers and Shanahan especially look back at it as part of the journey that had to happen to get the 49ers to where they are. And where are the 49ers right now? Well, they're at 3 NFC title game appearances in 4 seasons, and they have a chance to make it 2 Super Bowl appearances in 4 seasons. And it all had to begin somewhere. So that's what this piece is about. It's about Kyle Shanahan's coaching style. It's about the journey to get the 49ers here. And it's about a couple of inflection points surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles, because you obviously had the 2017 game where Kyle Shanahan recognized the 49ers low point. But you also had this in 1994. And I think this in 1994 is poetically comparable to the journey that the 49ers are trying to complete right now. The 94 49ers are considered one of the greatest NFL teams of all time. They might be the most star-studded team of all time, right? Jerry Rice on one side, along with Steve Young and Ricky Waters. Wow, what a team with Deion Sanders on the defense. But Kyle Shanahan was a 15-year-old ball boy for that 1994 49ers team, because his dad, Mike Shanahan, was the offensive coordinator. So I made sure to call up Mike Shanahan, and Mike is in this story. He has got some good thoughts about 1994, because it just so happens that in week 5 of the 1994 season, the Philadelphia Eagles came into Candlestick and beat the brakes off the 49ers 40-8. Too bad the Eagles didn't score 7 more points in 2017, because 33-8 would have looked a lot more symmetrical to 40-8 if they had scored 1 more touchdown. It would have been nice to have the same score for my writing purposes. But 40-8 in 1994 was the inflection point of a Super Bowl campaign. They dropped the 49ers to 3-2. Everybody wrote them off. They said, oh, this is just a team of a bunch of highly paid divas. They're not going to coalesce as a team. Steve Young actually erupted on the sideline. We had the famous Steve Young sideline meltdown against George Seifert. But it was that incident that ended up galvanizing the 49ers team. Now, it just so happens that Kyle Shanahan, as the 15-year-old son of the offensive coordinator, wasn't doing his ball boy duties that game. Those happened later in the season toward the playoffs. So he was in the stands. And normally Kyle sat with his mom, Peggy, in the stands during these games. But he got lucky in this game to where Mike, Peggy, whoever had tickets said, go with your friends. So he didn't have to go with his parents to the game. 15-year-old Kyle Shanahan got to go with his friends to this game, 49ers Eagles at Candlestick. And he thought it was great until he saw his tickets, and they were in the very upper row. They're under the overhang in Candlestick Park. So they're way up in the upper deck, but still a lot of people don't complain if they get free tickets. He didn't complain. He just noted that they were way up in the upper deck. But he's sitting up there in the nosebleeds with his friends, watching the 49ers get their asses kicked. I mean, absolutely annihilated by Randall Cunningham and the Eagles. And fans start calling for the 49ers offensive coordinator to get fired. Start yelling about how bad the offensive coordinator is. And Kyle Shanahan sitting there, and he realizes, oh, they're talking about my dad getting fired. He's sitting up there in the upper deck of the crowd. So it ended up being this formative moment growing up for Kyle Shanahan, because he sees And here's all these people, he sees how tough it is to coach in the NFL. You have one bad game and everybody in the crowd turns on you. And even through that, he still ultimately wanted to take the job that he took. And he went up the coaching ranks. He earned his way to become the coach of the 49ers. And he saw the perspective that 94 journey brought, because the 49ers lose bad to the Eagles. Steve Young erupts on the sideline. What happens next? Well, the team saw Steve Young's fire and they followed him into the battle ahead. So they lost on that day to the Eagles. They lost that battle, but then the 49ers made sure that they would win the war. They ripped off 10 straight wins. They lost a meaningless game at the end of the regular season where they were resting their starters, but then they won 3 more in the playoffs, including a victory over the Dallas Cowboys, who had eliminated them over the past 2 seasons in the NFC Championship game. And the 49ers rolled all the way to their most recent Super Bowl. And Kyle Shanahan had a great quote of perspective about that. He said that was a low point that the team needed, that I got to see sitting in the upper deck. That was a low point that the team needed to achieve the greatness that we ultimately remember today. And I think that's just a larger life lesson. 49ers in 2017 needed to go through the fire. That in 2018 too wasn't very easy for this team. 2017 to 2018, they needed to go through the fire to reach the rewards that we're seeing now in 2022, 2023 postseason. We saw a run in 2019. All of the tough times, though, preceded that. And it's been like that throughout the course of 49ers history. Tough times have preceded the championship times. We talked about it at Candlestick last week. The losses to the Cowboys in the 1970s preceded the glory of 1981. The losses to the Cowboys in 92 and 93 preceded the glory of 1994. The Eagles' loss in 94 preceded the 10-win run, 13 out of 14 wins to reach and win the Super Bowl. The losses to the Packers in the late 1990s have been a nice prelude to a lot of wins over the Packers later on. So history builds on itself, and perspective is important to maintain. And that's why we bring back 40 to 8 in 1994. So this is a massive feature on Kyle Shanahan. It came out this morning. Look at the graphic design. It's awesome. It's up on The Athletic. I'm going to copy and paste it one more time here into the comments section. Go ahead and check it out. I think we're still at a very good rate per month. So you can check out all this work. There's a ton of stuff that we're pumping out right now ahead of the 49ers headed to the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. A lot of preview content for 49ers Eagles is up as well. I'm going to go and sit down and write another preview piece right now, but there's all kinds of graphics and everything that I made here over the past couple days. I didn't make this one, but we were talking about Jalen Hurts yesterday, talking about the 49ers defense and the heat map. And, this right here is maybe something I could leave you off with. This is the 49ers and Eagles DVOA profile. You could see the matchups in this game. 49ers offense since week 8, this is since McCaffrey, number 1 DVOA by a mile. Philadelphia's defense, number 7. That's going to be a fun matchup. When it's Eagles offense against 49ers defense, it's number 5 against number 5. Run game, this is the 49ers' most pronounced advantage. It's number 3 for the 49ers, number 20 for Philadelphia. And on the other side of the ball, whenever Philadelphia is running, they're number 1 in the NFL. 49ers have to stop Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. 49ers defense is number 5. Slight special teams edge to the 49ers. So as you can see, it is going to be a competitive game, at least based on this matchup. And if the 49ers can play it on their terms, maybe they could take advantage of the one biggest Philadelphia weakness, which is the run defense. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the big piece on Shanahan. So go ahead and check that out. Enjoy it and have a great Friday. Going to be coming to you many more times today with some live action and maybe a couple of update analysis videos. All right, everybody, thanks for checking it out. We will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful Friday and gear up for Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take care.